Ernest Morris was 34 years old, and 3 months ago he made a choice that tore apart his marriage but may have saved his life. He sat in his car outside their townhouse in suburban Charlotte, North Carolina, going over the lie he was about to tell his wife. "Kelly, I got fired today," 5 words. Simple. But those 5 words were about to break the illusion he had been living in for the past 4 years. Ernest wasn't the type of husband who imagined problems that didn't exist. He had a steady job as a senior marketing manager at a regional healthcare company, earning about $92,000 a year. His wife, Kelly, worked part-time as a yoga instructor, around 15 hours a week. They weren't rich, but they lived comfortably. A small 2-bedroom townhouse, a yearly trip to the coast, and they split their bills evenly like a modern couple. Or at least, that's what Ernest believed. But things had started to feel off. At first, it was small stuff. Kelly would tense up anytime he mentioned his mother coming to visit. She suddenly became very interested in their finances, asking detailed questions about his 401k and life insurance. She started going out more with her friend Jessica, coming home later each time with vague excuses about networking and late classes. The real warning sign came 2 weeks ago. Ernest had come home early from work with a migraine, something he almost never did. As he stepped inside, he heard Kelly's voice from the kitchen, sharp and intense in a way he hadn't heard in a long time. "I'm telling you, Jess, I just need to wait it out a little longer. Once we hit that 5-year mark, the alimony calculation changes completely," my lawyer said. She stopped the second she heard him. When Ernest walked into the kitchen, Kelly was standing by the counter with her phone to her ear, her face slightly flushed. She quickly ended the call with a light, "Yeah, okay, see you at class tomorrow," then turned to him with a smile that didn't feel real. "Didn't expect you home so early," she said, her voice just a little too cheerful. Ernest brushed it off, mentioned his migraine, took some ibuprofen, and went to lie down. But what he heard stuck with him. 5-year mark. Alimony. My lawyer, they had been married for 4 years and 7 months. Over the next 2 weeks, Ernest started watching everything more closely. Kelly pulled away when he tried to kiss her, turning her cheek instead of her lips. She stopped asking about his day, barely looking up from her phone at dinner. She even moved some of her clothes into the guest room, saying she needed more space. Then there were the money issues. Kelly kept pushing him to add her name to his investment account, the one he had built long before they met. She brought it up 3 times in 1 month, saying it was about trust and being a team. When Ernest hesitated, she went cold and barely spoke to him for 2 days. That's when he decided to test her. If you enjoy stories about deep betrayal and shocking truths from the people we trust most, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. New stories are posted every day, each one more intense than the last. And tell me where you're watching from. Before making any move, Ernest spoke to his own attorney, a sharp and experienced woman named Patricia Morrison, who had handled his friend's divorce 2 years earlier. He told her everything, every detail, every suspicion, every word he overheard. Patricia leaned back in her chair, her fingers pressed together, and studied him carefully. "What you're describing is called strategic positioning," she said. "If your wife is planning a divorce, she's likely been told to wait until you pass that 5-year mark. In North Carolina, that can greatly affect how alimony is calculated and how long it lasts." Ernest felt his stomach twist. "So what do I do?" "You need proof," Patricia replied calmly. "Suspicion won't protect you. But if you can show that she's only staying for financial gain and already planning to leave, it can change the outcome. People tend to reveal their true intentions when they think the money is gone." That advice led to this moment. Ernest sitting in his car, about to walk into his own home and tell a carefully planned lie. He had his phone recording audio in his pocket. Patricia had assured him that in North Carolina, he could legally record conversations he was part of, and even ones he overheard in his own home, as long as the phone was on him. He took a deep breath and walked inside. Kelly was in the living room, curled up on the couch with her laptop, probably scrolling or texting. She looked up as he entered. For a split second, he saw a flash of annoyance on her face before it quickly changed into concern. "You're home early," she said, just like she had 2 weeks ago. Ernest set his briefcase down, making sure he looked worn out. "Kelly, we need to talk. Something happened at work today." She closed her laptop slowly, her eyes focused on him. "What is it?" Ernest let his voice shake just a little. "I got fired. They called me into HR this morning. Budget cuts. They're shutting down my whole department. I'm done. Effective immediately." For a brief moment, her face went completely still. Then came the reactions: shock, confusion, and something else. Something that looked a lot like panic. You got fired," she said, her voice rising. "But you've been there for 6 years. How can they just—" "It doesn't matter how," Ernest cut in. "It's done. We're going to have to make some big changes, Kelly. I've got maybe 3 months of severance. After that, it's your yoga income and whatever unemployment I can get. We might have to sell the townhouse, move somewhere cheaper." He watched the color drain from her face. "Sell the house, Ernest? We can't just—" "We might not have a choice," he said firmly. "And that investment account I have? I may need to use it to cover expenses while I look for another job. The market's bad right now. It could take 6 months or more." Kelly stood up quickly, almost unsteady. I need a minute. This is a lot." "I know," Ernest said quietly. "I'm trying to process it too." She nodded, but she wasn't really looking at him anymore. Her expression had gone distant, almost calculating. "I'm going to call Jessica," she said. "I just need to talk to someone. Is that okay?" "Of course," Ernest replied. "I'll be in the study." Kelly grabbed her phone and rushed upstairs, closing the bedroom door behind her. Ernest waited 30 seconds. Then he quietly followed. He stopped just outside the bedroom door, his phone still recording in his pocket. Almost instantly, he heard Kelly's voice, low, fast, and panicked. "Jess, we have a serious problem. Ernest just told me he got fired." "No, I'm not kidding." I know, but this changes everything. If he's unemployed, the alimony is going to be based on that, or some low-paying job he gets next. I could end up with nothing." Ernest's heart pounded hard in his chest, but he stayed still, barely breathing. "What do you mean wait it out?" Kelly whispered sharply. "We're 7 months away from the 5-year mark. You think I can keep pretending everything's fine for 7 more months while he's broke? And what if he doesn't get a good job by then? My lawyer said it's based on his income at the time we separate." There was a pause while Jessica spoke. "No, I can't just walk away now," Kelly said quickly. "If I file now, those 7 months mean nothing. I'd get almost nothing. We planned this. Remember? Wait until 5 years, then file. He has that investment account worth about $43,000, and his 401k is around $90,000. Split that, plus alimony based on his $92,000 salary, for at least 3 years. Jess, if we do this right, we're talking about walking away with maybe $200,000 total once you include everything. That's the plan." Ernest felt a cold shock run through his veins. She wasn't guessing. This wasn't a fear. She had mapped it out, every number, every calculation. This was a deliberate plan, a blueprint for ending their marriage. "What other choice do I have?" Kelly said. "I could stick around and hope he lands another high-paying job soon." "No, you're right." "That's ridiculous," Jess replied. "He could end up in some $60,000 a year job, and all this waiting would be for almost nothing. Maybe I should just file now and take what I can. At least the 401k is still decent." She paused, her voice dropping lower. "I know it sounds cold, but I stopped loving him about a year ago, maybe longer. He's boring, Jess. Comes home, watches TV, talks about the same work friends, goes to bed at 10 o'clock like he's 60 years old. I'm 31. I'm not spending my life like this. The money? That's just what I'm owed for putting up with 4 years of mediocrity. Ernest had heard enough. He moved silently down the stairs, mind spinning. Kelly hadn't just been planning to leave him, she had been carefully calculating how to maximize her financial gain. She stayed in a marriage she checked out of, waiting for the 5-year mark like it was some kind of investment payoff. They had no idea what was coming. He went into the study, closed the door, and pulled out his phone to stop the recording. His hands shook, not from sadness, but from rage. From the sharp, icy clarity of betrayal. He dialed Patricia Morrison. "I got it," he said when she answered. Every word had been recorded, the full plan laid bare. "Play it for me," Patricia said, voice sharp and professional. Ernest played the recording. Midway through, he heard Patricia's sharp intake of breath. "This is even better than I hoped," she said when it finished. "Ernest, what she just admitted is called economic opportunism in divorce law. She's staying in the marriage just to boost her financial gain. This recording could eliminate, or at least sharply reduce, any alimony claim." "What do I do now?" Ernest asked. "First, protect your assets. Tomorrow morning, go to the bank and move half the money from your joint accounts into an account only in your name. That's your legal right. Second, update the beneficiaries on your life insurance and 401k immediately. Third, we're going to file for divorce before she does, and we'll use this recording as evidence of her mercenary intentions. File first." Ernest's head was spinning. "Absolutely," he said. "We'll catch her completely off guard. She thinks she has 7 more months to position herself. We'll pull the rug out from under her this week." Patricia added, "One more thing, don't let on that you know anything. Can you keep up the act a few more days?" "I can do whatever it takes," Ernest replied. That night, Kelly came downstairs around 8 o'clock, carefully arranging her face into sympathetic concern. "Hey," she said softly. "I'm sorry I disappeared. Today's just shocking." Ernest looked up from his laptop, pretending to browse job listings. "It's okay," he said calmly. "I know it's scary." She sat beside him and placed her hand on his shoulder. The touch made his skin crawl, but he didn't flinch. "We'll figure it out," she said. "We're a team, right? For better or worse." The irony of those wedding vows almost made him laugh, but he kept his face neutral, even managing a faint look of gratitude. "Thanks," he said. "That means a lot." She smiled, genuine for a moment, and Ernest questioned himself. Could he have misunderstood? Could there be another explanation? Then she added, "You should probably start checking how much unemployment you'll qualify for, and we should sit down to really look at the budget. See what we can cut." She was already calculating, already deciding if it was worth staying or cutting her losses. "I will," Ernest said. "First thing tomorrow." Kelly stood, stretching. "I'm taking a bath and going to bed early. Today's exhausting." "Good night," Ernest said. He watched her walk away and felt nothing, no sadness, no longing, not even anger. Only cold determination to stop her plan. The next morning, Ernest woke at 6 o'clock, before Kelly. He got to the bank at 9 o'clock and moved $4,300, exactly half, into a new individual account. He changed the $41,000 beneficiary on his 401k from Kelly to his mother and did the same for his life insurance. Then he went to Patricia's office to sign the divorce papers. "We're filing this afternoon," Patricia said. "She'll be served probably by Thursday. That gives you 2 days to prepare for her reaction." "What should I expect?" Ernest asked. Patricia smiled, cold. "Shock. Anger. Maybe threats. She'll realize her plan just collapsed. People like Kelly don't handle disruption well." She thought she was in control. She was, until she wasn't, Ernest admitted. Make sure you're subscribed, this ending will blow your mind. Drop a comment and tell us what you think Ernest should do next, Ernest went home and kept up the act. He applied to a few jobs online so Kelly could see him working. That night he cooked pasta with marinara. Nothing fancy. They ate in near silence. "Any luck with the job search?" Kelly asked casually. "Not yet," Ernest replied. "Only 2 days in. These things take time." She nodded, pushing food on her plate. "How much severance did they give you exactly?" 3 months' salary, Ernest said. "So about 23,000 before taxes," Kelly said, doing the quick mental calculation. Ernest watched her face tighten. 23,000 wouldn't be enough to maintain their lifestyle for long, especially if he wasn't working. She was running her own numbers, probably deciding whether to file now or wait. "That's not much," she said at last. "No," Ernest agreed quietly. "It's not." Thursday afternoon, Ernest was at work, at his real job, where he had never been fired, when his phone buzzed. A message from Patricia: "She's been served. Papers delivered at 2:47 p.m. Ernest stared at the screen. It was done. There was no going back. At 3:15 p.m., his phone rang. Kelly's name lit up. He let it ring 4 times before answering. "Hello? What the hell is this?" Kelly's voice shook, not with sadness, but with anger. "I just got served with divorce papers." "Ernest, what is going on?" Ernest's voice stayed calm. "I think the papers speak for themselves. You can't just, we didn't even discuss this. You got fired 2 days ago, and now you're divorcing me?" "Actually," Ernest said, a small thrill in his voice, "I didn't get fired. I lied. Made the whole thing up." Silence. "What?" Kelly whispered. "It was a test," Ernest said. "And you failed spectacularly." "I don't understand." "Yes, you do," Ernest interrupted. "You understand perfectly. I know your plan. I know you were waiting for the 5-year mark. I know you calculated alimony and assets down to the dollar. I know you stopped loving me a year ago but stayed for the money." Her voice faltered. He could practically hear her thinking. "You were listening that night. You listened to my phone call." "I did," Ernest confirmed. "And I recorded it. My lawyer has that recording." He took a breath. "Here's how this goes, Kelly. You accept a fair divorce settlement with no alimony, because you stayed in this marriage solely for financial gain. Or we go to court, and I play that recording for a judge. Let them decide how mercenary you really are." "You bastard," Kelly hissed. "You manipulative bastard," said the woman who had calculated their marriage like a business spreadsheet, Ernest thought. "You played a game, Kelly. You just didn't realize I was playing too." She hung up. Ernest sat at his desk, phone in hand, feeling something like peace. Patricia had been right, people show who they really are when they think the money is gone. Kelly had revealed herself completely. What she didn't know was that this revelation was just the beginning, and the consequences would be far worse than she could imagine. That night, Ernest didn't go home. He texted Kelly that he was staying at his friend Marcus' place while they figured things out, which was partly true. Marcus had offered the guest room, but Ernest wasn't hiding. He was planning. Patricia had been clear, the next few weeks would be critical. Kelly would consult her lawyer, regroup, and come back fighting. But Ernest had advantages now: the recording, the element of surprise, and the truth. "She's going to try to spin this," Patricia had warned Friday morning. "She'll claim she was just venting, that you took it out of context, that you manipulated her with a cruel test. Be ready." Ernest nodded. He wasn't worried. The recording was damning, but it wasn't his only evidence. Over the past 2 weeks, since first overhearing Kelly's conversation, he'd quietly documented everything: photos of her moving clothes to the guest room, screenshots from a divorce forum she thought was anonymous, credit card statements showing lunches with her attorney at a family law firm downtown, going back 3 months. Kelly had been planning this divorce since August. Friday evening, Ernest returned to the townhouse. Kelly's car was in the driveway, lights glowed inside. He took a breath and walked in. She sat at the kitchen table, papers spread out, laptop open. Her eyes were red-rimmed but hard. "We need to talk," she said. "Okay," Ernest replied, pulling out a chair and keeping distance. Kelly folded her hands on the table. Her voice was calm, controlled. "I spoke with my attorney. She says the recording you made might not even be admissible. North Carolina is tricky with that." "Partially correct," Ernest said calmly. "But even if the recording isn't used in court, I can testify to what I heard. And you'd have to testify under oath too, either lie or admit that you were planning when to file for financial gain." Kelly's jaw tightened. "I was venting to a friend. People say things when they're frustrated." "For 3 months," Ernest said. "Since mid-August, every other Tuesday, lunch at that bistro near your lawyer's office. I have the credit card statements. Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Her face went pale. "You've been spying on me," she said. "I've been protecting myself," Ernest corrected. "There's a difference. You were planning to ambush me. You were waiting to hit me with papers when you'd maximize your payout. I just turned the tables." Kelly stood abruptly and paced to the window. "You humiliated me. Do you know what it felt like to have some stranger serve me at my yoga class in front of my students?" "I know exactly," Ernest said quietly. "I heard you calculate our marriage like a stock portfolio. I know exactly what it felt like to hear you tell your friend you stopped loving me a year ago but stayed for the money," Ernest said. "So, yes, Kelly, I understand humiliation." Kelly spun around, tears streaming down her face. Ernest couldn't tell if they were real or just another strategy. He thought he knew this woman. He'd been wrong. "What do you want?" Kelly asked, voice trembling. "You have all the power here. What's your plan?" Ernest pulled a folder from his bag and slid it across the table. "This is a proposed settlement agreement. Your attorney can review it, but the terms aren't up for negotiation." Kelly grabbed the folder and flipped through the pages. Her eyes scanned the terms, and her expression shifted from anger to disbelief, then to rage. "This is insane," she said flatly. "You're offering me almost nothing." "I'm offering exactly what the law says you're entitled to," Ernest replied. "We split the townhouse equity, about $17,000 each after the mortgage is paid. You keep your car, I keep mine. Our individual retirement and investment accounts remain separate, just as they always were. No alimony, since the evidence shows you stayed in this marriage for financial gain, not love or commitment." "The judge will never agree to no alimony," Kelly shot back. "I gave up career opportunities to support you." Ernest raised an eyebrow. "You taught yoga 15 hours a week. You weren't giving up anything. You chose a part-time career you enjoy. I never pressured you. I encouraged it. You could have grown your client base, but you didn't. You're 31, healthy, educated, and capable of supporting yourself. The recording proves you stayed for financial strategy. No judge will reward that with alimony." Kelly slammed the folder down. "I won't sign this." "Then we go to court," Ernest said simply. "I present all my evidence, and you explain to a judge why you hired an attorney 3 months ago and waited for the 5-year mark to file. Your choice." They stared at each other across the table, the space heavy with everything broken between them. Finally, Kelly spoke, voice cold. "I want you out of this house tonight." "Already planned," Ernest said, standing. "I'll be back tomorrow with Marcus to move the rest of my things. My attorney will contact you about the settlement timeline." He paused at the door. "For what it's worth, Kelly, I really did love you. I thought we were building something real. I'm sorry you didn't feel the same way." She didn't respond, arms crossed, watching him leave. Ernest spent the weekend moving his belongings. Marcus and another friend helped with furniture, books, clothes, all the pieces of a life he thought was permanent. Kelly wasn't there. She had apparently gone to stay with Jessica, avoiding the process. Monday morning, Patricia called. Kelly's attorney reached out. "They want to negotiate." "What are they offering?" Ernest asked. 30,000 plus 2 years of limited alimony at 1,500 a month. Total, that's 66,000 to make her go away quietly. Anger flared in Ernest's chest. She's not entitled to that. I know, Patricia said calmly. Our offer stands. But her attorney admitted she's struggling. Reality is hitting her. What does that mean? She can't afford the townhouse alone. She'll likely have to move to a small apartment. Her yoga income is only $2,000 a month in Charlotte. Her whole exit strategy depended on a big nest egg. Now she's facing reality. Ernest should have felt satisfaction. Instead, he just felt tired. So what now? He asked. We wait. She'll have to face reality eventually. That recording is too damning, and she knows it. The waiting was harder than Ernest expected. He moved into a small one-bedroom nearby, furnished it with basics, and tried to establish a routine. Work became his refuge, predictable and controlled. But reminders of his old life were everywhere: the coffee shop for Sunday lattes, the hiking trail they'd walked countless times, the movie theater where their first date happened 6 years ago. 3 weeks after the papers were served, an unknown number called. Ernest almost ignored it, but something made him pick up. Ernest, it's Jessica Miller, Kelly's friend, a tired, drawn voice said. What do you want, Jessica? Ernest asked, guarded. I need to talk. Not about Kelly, for me. Can we meet for coffee? Against his better judgment, Ernest agreed. They met at a neutral cafe downtown, one he'd never been to with Kelly. Jessica looked worn, guilty. I need to apologize, she said immediately. For my part in all this. Ernest stayed silent. Kelly told you she stopped loving you a year ago, Jessica continued. That's not true. Or at least not the whole truth. She was happy, really happy. But her hands shook around her coffee cup. I got divorced 2 years ago. It was messy, awful. I walked away with $120,000 in settlement money. I told Kelly about it, and I think I made her start seeing her marriage with you through a financial lens. Ernest felt a cold knot in his stomach. I didn't mean to plant the idea, Jessica hurried on. But I was bitter. My ex left me for his paralegal after I supported him for 7 years. That money was the only good thing I got. I think I made Kelly start viewing her marriage the same way. She's an adult, Ernest said quietly. She made her own choices. I know, but I encouraged her when she complained about you. Honestly, Ernest, her complaints were normal: dishes in the sink, falling asleep during movies, not the most romantic guy. Nothing extreme. I'd just say, well, at least he makes good money, or you've put in 4 years, might as well see it through to 5. I turned her into this calculating person, someone she wasn't before. Ernest studied Jessica carefully, looking for signs of deceit. He didn't find any. Her remorse was genuine. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because Kelly's falling apart, Jessica said bluntly. She's lost weight, not sleeping, barely working. And I realized I helped destroy something that could have been saved if I hadn't been feeding her poison for the past year. She wasn't a gold digger at first. I made her think like one. Ernest nodded slowly. That doesn't change what she did. She still hired the attorney, made those calculations, and stayed with me while planning to leave. I know, Jessica admitted. And she should face the consequences. I just needed you to know the Kelly you fell in love with was real. The person she became, I helped create that. I'm sorry. Jessica left after that, and Ernest sat alone with his coffee, processing everything. Could Kelly have been influenced? Absolutely. But it didn't erase her decisions. Adults are responsible for their own choices, even when friends give bad advice. That night, Ernest finally did something he'd been avoiding. He went through old photos on his computer. Wedding pictures, Thanksgiving laughs, holding hands on a sunset hike. When had it all changed? When had she stopped seeing him as a partner and started seeing him as a source of money? His phone rang. Patricia Morrison. She's ready to sign, Patricia said immediately. Kelly accepted the original settlement offer. No alimony. Assets split as proposed. Her attorney sent over the signed agreement this afternoon. Ernest felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. That's good. When is it final? We can file with the court tomorrow. You've been separated over 30 days, and the agreement is in place. The judge will likely grant the divorce within a few weeks. Do it, Ernest said. There's one more thing, Patricia added. Kelly included a personal note with the settlement. You should read it. Ernest opened the email. A scanned image, Kelly's familiar handwriting. Ernest, I'm signing your settlement because you're right. I don't deserve alimony. I don't deserve anything from you except maybe your contempt. Jessica told me she talked to you. I didn't ask her to, but I'm glad she did, because there's something you need to understand. Even if you never forgive me, I did love you. I do love you. I just lost sight of what that meant. When Jessica told me about her divorce settlement, something broke in my brain. I started seeing our marriage as a safety net instead of a partnership. I started thinking about exit strategies instead of building a life. By the time I realized how twisted my thinking had become, I was already meeting with attorneys and calculating numbers. You deserve better than that. You deserve someone who valued you for who you are, not what you could provide. I'm sorry I became someone who couldn't do that. I hope you find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. And I hope someday I figure out how to be a better person than the one you became. Kelly. Ernest read the note 3 times. It didn't undo the betrayal, the planning, or the fact she'd stayed for strategy. But it made him sad in an unexpected way, because he believed she meant it. That made everything worse. The person she became wasn't who she wanted to be, but she became her anyway. He deleted the image, set his phone down. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in early December. No courthouse visit was needed, both had signed the settlement. Ernest received the PDF from Patricia, the final decree. Officially single. Free. Done with the worst chapter of his life. But Kelly and Jessica still had consequences waiting. 2 months later, Ernest had settled into a new routine. His 1-bedroom apartment was furnished, comfortable. He went to the gym again. Even went on a few dates, nothing serious, but enough to remind him connection was still possible. Work became more than refuge. A major regional healthcare campaign required long hours and creativity. 2 weeks ago, his boss called him in and promoted him to marketing director with an $18,000 raise. You've been doing this work for months anyway, she said. Ernest accepted, proud for the first time in years. He hadn't heard from Kelly since the divorce, and he was fine with that. Social media was blocked, occasionally unblocked to check on her. She'd moved to a modest East Side Charlotte apartment, reduced her yoga classes, sporadic Instagram updates, thinner, harder, determined. He'd peek, 5 minutes, then block again, a ritual, not pride. Marcus brought Jessica up casually at a sports bar, watching a basketball game. Hey, didn't your ex-wife have a friend named Jessica? Jessica Miller? Ernest's tension rose. Yeah, why? I saw her at the grocery store last week. She looked rough, man. I didn't say anything, but she was crying in the parking lot. Thought you should know. Ernest frowned. Why do I need to know that? Marcus shrugged. I don't know. She was part of all that mess, right? But she also tried to make it right by telling you the truth. Just thought you'd care. The conversation stuck with Ernest more than he expected. He tried to push it away, but it lingered in his mind. 3 days later, he made an impulsive decision. He called Jessica. She answered on the 4th ring, voice cautious. Ernest? Yeah. Can we talk? They met at the same cafe where she had apologized months ago. This time, Jessica looked even worse, hollow eyes, trembling hands clutching her coffee cup. Are you okay? Ernest asked, the concern slipping out naturally. Jessica laughed bitterly. Define okay. I'm alive, employed, but otherwise? Not really. What happened? She stayed quiet a long moment, then finally began spilling everything. After her talk with Ernest, guilt had consumed her. She realized her role in turning Kelly into someone calculating and strategic. She'd started therapy, confronting her bitterness over her own divorce and how she'd projected it onto her friend. But then the real trouble began. Kelly's ex-husband, who was also Jessica's ex-husband's former law partner, had discovered Jessica's involvement in Kelly's divorce strategy. My ex Trevor, he and Kelly's attorney know each other, Jessica explained. Word got out about you, Kelly, the recording, everything. Trevor called me last month, he's reopening our divorce settlement. Ernest felt his stomach drop. Can he do that? Apparently, yes. He claims I misrepresented my intentions, Jessica said. I told the court I wanted to reconcile, but I was already planning with an attorney to maximize my payout. Which is true? Ernest asked quietly. Yes. I hired a divorce attorney 6 months before I officially filed. I positioned myself strategically, and now he has proof. What proof? My texts. I messaged Kelly about playing the long game, making sure I got what I was owed. Trevor's attorney subpoenaed my phone records, they found everything. Jessica's hands shook violently. Ernest, they could take a huge portion of my settlement. Maybe all of it. I've spent so much, my apartment, my car, that trip to Europe last year. I could end up in serious debt. Ernest leaned back, processing. Part of him, still angry about her interference in his marriage, felt grim satisfaction. Karma, finally. But another part of him felt pity. I'm sorry, he said, and he meant it. Jessica blinked in surprise. Sorry? Why? Because what you're facing seems far beyond what you deserve. And because you at least tried to do right by me by telling the truth. That counts for something. Tears welled in Jessica's eyes. I don't deserve your compassion. I helped destroy your marriage. My marriage ended the moment Kelly started seeing me as a financial asset, Ernest corrected gently. You influenced that? Yes. But Kelly made her choices. Adults are responsible for their own decisions. They sat in silence for a while, both absorbing the weight of consequences and responsibility. What are you going to do? Ernest finally asked. Jessica wiped her eyes. Fight it, I guess. Hire a lawyer. Show that, even though my intentions were strategic, the original settlement was still fair. But honestly, I might lose. Maybe I deserve to. Nobody deserves to be bankrupted, Ernest said firmly. Maybe not. But I taught Kelly to treat marriage like a business. And I did the same to my own husband. Maybe this is the universe making sure I feel the full impact of that thinking. Ernest left the cafe unsettled. Jessica's situation reminded him how consequences ripple in ways no one can predict or control. That evening, he did something he hadn't done in weeks. He unblocked Kelly on social media and sent a direct message, * we need to talk. It's about Jessica, *. Kelly replied within 5 minutes. What about her? They agreed to meet for coffee the next day, their first face-to-face since the divorce. Ernest saw her sitting there when he arrived. She looked different, thinner, yes, but also more present, focused. When their eyes met, she didn't look away. Hi, she said softly as he sat. Hi. They ordered coffee in awkward silence. Then Ernest explained Jessica's situation, the reopened settlement, the text messages, the possible financial disaster. Kelly's face went pale. Oh my God. I didn't know. She didn't tell me. I think she was too ashamed. Ernest nodded. Here's the thing, Kelly. Jessica influenced you, yes, but you made your own decisions in our marriage. And now she's facing consequences that might be worse than yours. That doesn't seem fair. Kelly stayed quiet for a long moment. What are you suggesting? Maybe you could write a statement for her case. Explain that while she gave you advice, the choices were ultimately yours. She wasn't some mastermind manipulator. She was just a bitter friend venting. She had chosen her path. I know that, but I encouraged her when she complained about you. Honestly, Ernest, those were normal complaints, leaving dishes in the sink, falling asleep during movies, not being the most romantic. Normal stuff. I'd say things like, well, at least he earns well, or you've been in this marriage 4 years, might as well see it through to 5. I might have nudged her to think strategically. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and drop a comment about what you'd do in Ernest's shoes. Ernest studied Jessica's face, searching for any hint of deceit. All he saw was true remorse. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because Kelly's fallen apart, Jessica said bluntly. She's lost weight, barely sleeping, barely working. I realized I helped twist someone who could have been normal into a calculating person. She wasn't a gold digger, she became one because of me. That's my responsibility. Ernest nodded slowly. It doesn't excuse what she did. But it adds context. I'm not asking you to take her back, Jessica continued. I just wanted you to know the Kelly you fell in love with was real. I helped make her someone else. I'm sorry. Jessica left, and Ernest sat alone with his coffee, processing everything. Could Kelly have been influenced? Yes. Did it erase her choices? Absolutely not. Adults are responsible for their decisions, even when friends give bad advice. That night, Ernest did something he'd been avoiding. He went through old photos on his computer, Kelly at their wedding, laughing at Thanksgiving, holding his hand on a sunset hike. When did she stop seeing him as a partner and start seeing him as a paycheck? His phone rang. Patricia Morrison. She's ready to sign, Patricia said immediately. Kelly accepted the original settlement, no alimony. Assets split as proposed. Signed an email today. Ernest felt relief mixed with emptiness. When's it final? He asked. Tomorrow, we can file with the court. Since you've been separated over 30 days and the agreement's in place, the judge will likely grant the divorce in a few weeks. Do it, Ernest said. Patricia hesitated. There's one more thing. Kelly added a personal note. Ernest opened the scanned note on his phone. Handwritten, familiar loops. Ernest, I'm signing your settlement because you're right. I don't deserve alimony. I don't deserve anything except maybe your contempt. Jessica talked to you, and I'm glad she did. I need you to know, even if you never forgive me, I loved you. I lost sight of what that meant. I started seeing our marriage as a safety net, not a partnership, planning exit strategies instead of building life. You deserved better than that. I'm sorry I became someone who couldn't. I hope someday I can be better than who I became. Ernest read it 3 times. It didn't change the betrayal, but it made him sad. He deleted the image. The divorce was finalized early December. No courthouse visit, just Patricia's email with the PDF decree. Ernest was officially single, officially free. Kelly and Jessica weren't done facing consequences. 2 months later, Ernest settled into a new normal. His 1-bedroom apartment became home. He returned to the gym, went on casual dates, and immersed himself in work. A regional healthcare campaign at his company led to a promotion, marketing director with an $18,000 salary bump. Kelly had moved into a modest apartment in East Charlotte. Her yoga classes decreased, Instagram was sporadic, she looked thinner, but determined. Ernest's occasional social media check-ins became a ritual. Marcus mentioned Jessica casually at a sports bar. Ernest's stomach tightened. Jessica Miller? Why? She's relevant to what happened, Marcus said. Ernest's mind went to her situation, the reopened divorce settlement, the text messages, the financial risk. He unblocked Kelly on social media. We need to talk. About Jessica. She replied in 5 minutes. They agreed to meet at a cafe, their first face-to-face since the divorce. Kelly arrived, thinner but more present. "Hi," she said softly. Ernest ordered coffee. He explained Jessica's legal problem and the potential financial fallout. Kelly's face turned pale. "Oh my God. I didn't know," she whispered. "I think she was too ashamed to tell you," Ernest replied. "Here's the point, you made your own choices, but she influenced some thinking. She's facing consequences worse than you did. That doesn't seem fair." Kelly was silent, then asked, "You want me to help?" "Provide a statement." Explain her role was advice, not manipulation. She wasn't orchestrating anything. Just a bitter friend venting. Kelly nodded. "I'll do it. I'll write it." They sipped coffee quietly. "I started therapy 3 weeks ago," Kelly said. "Trying to understand how I became capable of what I did." "That's good," Ernest said. "My therapist says I grew up hyper-focused on money because my parents fought constantly. I saw relationships as transactions. I didn't realize it at the time, but it drove me to overcompensate financially, at the expense of connection." Ernest absorbed it. It didn't excuse her actions, but it explained context. "Are you okay financially?" Kelly gave a small, sad smile. "I'm getting by. More yoga classes, a couple corporate sessions. Tight, but manageable. I'm happier, honest with myself, living instead of fantasizing." "That's something," Ernest said. "Ernest, I know my apology didn't change anything, but I'm genuinely sorry for what I did and who I became. You deserved better." "I know," Ernest said simply. "And I forgive you." Kelly's eyes widened. "What?" "I forgive you. Not because it was okay. Not because I want to get back together. But because I refuse to carry this anger anymore. Forgiving you is for me." Tears streamed down Kelly's face. "I probably don't deserve it," she said. "No. But I give it anyway." They talked for another hour, not lawyers, settlements, or logistics, but life. Meditation, promotions, Marcus' wedding, Panthers' playoff hopes. Not enemies, not lovers. Two people acknowledging a past and moving forward. When they parted, Kelly hugged him awkwardly. "Thank you for this, for helping Jessica. Take care." "You too," Ernest said. Kelly wrote her statement for Jessica, clarifying her advice was venting, and she was responsible for her own decisions. Combined with Ernest's prepared testimony, the case helped Jessica significantly. Her settlement was reduced by $35,000 but not clawed back completely. Jessica texted him, "Thank you for giving me a chance at redemption. I won't waste it." 3 months later, at Marcus' wedding, Ernest noticed a woman across the room, warm eyes, easy smile. "That's Sarah," Marcus said. "Bride's cousin. Physical therapist, new to Charlotte. Want me to introduce you?" Ernest hesitated, then smiled. "Yeah. I think I do." As he walked across the room, Ernest felt something he hadn't in a long time, hope. Not for a new Kelly, not for love exactly, but hope that life could still surprise him positively. He realized life's lesson wasn't revenge or justice, it was clarity. People reveal who they are when tested. Some fail, some grow, some surprise you with honesty. Protect yourself, leave room for growth, and most importantly, change yourself. Kelly taught him what he wouldn't accept. Jessica taught him about influence and responsibility. Ernest's experience taught him that sometimes the best ending isn't revenge, it's letting go, learning, and building something better. 6 months after the divorce, Ernest was dating someone who truly saw him. Career advancing, dignity intact, peace restored. Kelly continued yoga, therapy, and slowly rebuilding authenticity. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge, it's becoming a better version of yourself while others face consequences for their choices. Ernest had tested his wife, documented the truth, protected himself, and in doing so, freed both of them to become better people. That was worth more than any settlement. If you enjoyed this story, like the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe with notifications for more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.